The Varaxian ship cut through the darkness of space like a knife. Its metal hull gleamed under the light of distant stars. Inside, Commander Tarek stood tall, his scaled skin reflecting the blue glow of computer screens. 6 sharp claws extended from each of his 4 hands. 2 smaller arms folded across his armored chest. His yellow eyes narrowed as he studied the blue-green planet on the main screen. "Another world for the Dominion," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "What do we know about this one?" Officer Zex tapped on his control panel. "The planet is called Sol 3 by our charts. The dominant species appears to be soft-skinned bipeds. No natural weapons. No significant defenses. They call themselves humans." Tarek made a sound like a laugh. "Prey species, then. Class D, at best." "Yes, Commander. Our scans show they have basic technology. Primitive space travel within their own system. Nuclear weapons, but nothing that could harm our ships. For thousands of years, the Varaxian Dominion had ruled the galaxy. Their kind evolved as perfect predators on their harsh home planet. When they reached the stars, they found most other intelligent life to be weaker, slower, and less aggressive. The Varaxians created a system to rank all species. Predators at the top, prey at the bottom. A natural order of the universe, they called it. "Prepare a first contact team," Tarek ordered. "The usual approach for Class D species. We'll offer them protection in exchange for resources and labor." "And if they refuse?" asked Zex. Tarek showed his sharp teeth. "They never refuse for long." On Earth, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. Governments around the world had united when the alien signal arrived 3 weeks ago. After decades of scanning the stars for signs of intelligent life, humanity finally had proof they were not alone in the universe. At NASA headquarters, astronaut Frank Lawson adjusted his uniform tie and looked at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. At 42, his brown hair showed touches of gray at the temples. The lines around his blue eyes had deepened over his 15 years of service. Today might be the most important day in human history, and he would be one of the first to meet these visitors from another world. "Ready for the big show?" asked Olivia Martinez as she entered the hallway. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her eyes sparkled with excitement. As the lead xenobiologist, she had spent her career studying the possibility of alien life. Now she would see it firsthand. "As ready as I'll ever be," Frank replied. "Hard to prepare for something no one has ever done before. The communication team says their language translation technology is incredible. They've already learned English and several other languages just from our broadcasts." Frank nodded. "Let's hope they're friendly. The president is staking a lot on this meeting." Across the ocean in Switzerland, a neutral site had been prepared for the historic first contact. President Eleanor Wright stood at the window of her hotel room, watching military personnel secure the area. Her assistant handed her a tablet with the latest security report. "Captain Richards has positioned his team throughout the building," the assistant said. "If anything goes wrong, they're ready." President Wright nodded. At 61, she had seen many historic moments, but nothing compared to this. Let's hope all this security is unnecessary. This could be the beginning of a new era for humanity. Captain Sam Richards moved quietly through the conference building. His team of 12 specially selected soldiers were dressed as staff and security personnel. Each carried concealed weapons designed to cause maximum damage. No one knew what these aliens might be capable of, and Richards wasn't taking chances. "Team check," he whispered into his communications device. One by one, his people confirmed their positions. Richards had fought in 3 wars across 2 decades of service. He had learned to trust his instincts, and something about this situation made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. The Varaxian ship entered Earth's atmosphere at dawn. It was smaller than expected, only about twice the size of a commercial airliner. It landed with precision on the prepared airfield outside the conference center. News cameras from around the world captured the moment, broadcasting to billions of people watching in homes, schools, and public squares. "This is it," Frank said as he stood with the welcoming committee. Beside him, Olivia clutched her tablet, which contained thousands of questions she hoped to ask. The ship's door opened silently. A ramp extended to the ground. The world held its breath. Commander Tarek emerged first. Standing over 7 feet tall, his reptilian body covered in natural armor, he was an imposing figure. Behind him came 4 other aliens of different species, all part of the Dominion's diplomatic corps, selected to show the diversity of their galactic empire. President Wright stepped forward. "On behalf of the people of Earth, I welcome you to our world." Tarek looked down at the small, soft creature addressing him. These humans were even less impressive in person than their scans had suggested. No claws, no armor, dull senses. Perfect prey. "We bring greetings from the Varaxian Dominion," he said, his translator converting his harsh sounds into smooth English. "We look forward to discussing Earth's integration into our galactic community." The diplomatic team moved inside to the conference room. Captain Richards watched from his position near the door, noting every detail about the aliens. The way they moved, the weapons they carried, the technology visible on their suits. His job was to protect humanity if this went bad. As the meeting began, Tarek displayed a holographic map of the galaxy, showing the vast territories controlled by the Dominion. "For 50,000 years, we have brought order to the stars," he explained. "Each species has its place in the natural hierarchy. Based on our initial assessment, humans would be classified as a Class D species." "What does that classification mean?" asked Olivia. "It means you will be under our direct protection," Tarek said smoothly. "In exchange, Earth will provide resources and labor for Dominion projects. Your people will be relocated as needed to serve the greater good of the galaxy." The room grew silent as the true nature of the offer became clear. This wasn't an invitation to join a galactic community. It was colonization. President Wright's expression remained diplomatic, but her voice cooled. "We appreciate your offer, Commander Tarek, but Earth is not looking for new management. We're interested in equal partnerships and cultural exchange." Tarek seemed amused. "Perhaps I wasn't clear. This isn't a negotiation. It's simply how the galaxy functions. Predator species guide, prey species serve." Captain Richards caught the president's eye across the room. She gave a slight nod, and he pressed a button on his watch, signaling his team to be ready. "We'll need time to consider your proposal," President Wright said carefully. "Our world has many nations and billions of people. We can't make such a decision immediately." Tarek nodded, confident in the outcome. No prey species had ever successfully resisted the Dominion. "You have one of your Earth months to prepare your people for integration." As the aliens returned to their ship, humans around the world watched in stunned silence. The dream of peaceful contact had just been replaced by something much darker. Humanity had 3 options: submit, hide, or fight. And humans had never been good at the first 2. 3 weeks passed since the first meeting with the Varaxians. Earth was no longer the same. Governments worked together in ways never seen before. Military bases buzzed with activity day and night. Scientists studied every second of footage from the alien encounter, looking for any advantage in a secure underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. Captain Sam Richards led a team of engineers examining a small piece of Varaxian technology. During the meeting in Switzerland, one of his soldiers had managed to place a tracking device on the aliens. When they returned to their ship, The device had scraped off a coin-sized piece of their hull material. "What have we learned?" Richards asked the lead scientist. Dr. George Miller. Dr. Miller adjusted his glasses. "This metal isn't like anything on Earth. It's incredibly strong but lightweight. We're trying to understand its structure." Across the room, Olivia Martinez studied biological data collected during the brief meeting. "Their body temperature is much higher than ours," she reported, "and their reaction time is about twice as fast as the average human." Frank Lawson entered the room carrying coffee for everyone. Since the meeting, he had been reassigned to this special task force. "The president is about to make her announcement," he said, turning on the large screen on the wall. President Wright appeared, standing behind a podium with the American flag and the new Earth Unity flag behind her. Her face was serious but determined. "My fellow citizens of Earth," she began. "3 weeks ago, we were visited by representatives of the Varaxian Dominion. They offered us a place in their galactic empire, not as equals, but as servants. They have given us 1 month to prepare for what they call integration. This is simply another word for invasion." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Today, I speak not just as the President of the United States, but as one voice among many world leaders who have unanimously agreed on our response. We will not surrender our freedom. We will not accept classification as a prey species. We are humanity, and we stand together." Around the world, people watched and listened. In crowded city squares, in rural homes, in schools and workplaces, the message was the same. Earth would fight. On the Varaxian ship orbiting Earth, Commander Tarek watched the broadcast with amusement. He turned to Officer Zex. "It seems the humans need a demonstration of our power." "Shall the first prepare the full invasion fleet, Commander?" Zex asked. Tarek considered this. "No, these creatures are hardly worth such effort. Prepare a single battle. Cruiser, we'll destroy one of their major cities as an example. Then they'll understand what it means to defy the Dominion." Zex bowed and left to carry out the orders. Tarek continued watching Earth broadcasts, curious about these strange creatures who thought they could resist. In his thousands of years of service to the Dominion, he had overseen the integration of dozens of worlds. Some fought back briefly, but all eventually submitted. This world would be no different. Back on Earth, intelligence agencies detected increased activity from the Varaxian ship. Satellite images showed a second, larger ship arriving in orbit. In the war room of the White House, Captain Richards pointed to the images on screen. "They're preparing to attack. Our sources indicate they'll likely target a major city to demonstrate their power." President Wright nodded grimly. "Then it's time for Operation Trojan. Are the units in position?" "Yes, Madam President. The moment they enter our atmosphere, we'll be ready." For the past 3 weeks, every nation had contributed their best technology and soldiers to a unified defense plan. What the Varaxians didn't know was that humans had been preparing for alien threats for decades through movies, books, and military planning exercises. The idea of hostile aliens wasn't new to humanity. They had been imagining this scenario for generations. Olivia Martinez worked with a team of biologists to identify potential weaknesses in Varaxian physiology. Their high body temperature suggests they may be vulnerable to cold, she explained to Frank as they rushed to complete their work. "And their vision is adapted for different light wavelengths than ours." Frank nodded, reviewing the tactical plans. "We're only going to get one chance at this. If we fail, they'll bring their full fleet." The next morning, the Varaxian battlecruiser entered Earth's atmosphere. It was massive, 3 times larger than the diplomatic vessel, and bristling with weapons. It descended toward the eastern United States, its target clearly Washington, D.C. Commander Tarek stood proudly on the bridge. Record everything, he ordered. This will serve as an educational example for other worlds considering resistance. As the ship moved through the clouds, automated defense systems around the world locked onto its position, but no one fired. The humans appeared to be doing nothing to stop the approaching threat. How disappointing, Tarek said. I expected at least some attempt at defense. What Tarek didn't know was that Earth's response was already underway. During the 3 weeks of preparation, Captain Richards had worked with a special forces team to develop a bold plan. While the Varaxians watched for missile launches or fighter jets, small stealth aircraft had already taken position in the clouds around the battlecruiser. These aircraft, using technology reverse-engineered from the hull sample, were invisible to Varaxian sensors. Each carried a team of soldiers and a weapon designed specifically for this moment. Richards himself led the primary team. As his aircraft moved silently above the Varaxian ship, he checked his equipment one last time. Remember, we'll only have seconds once we land. Target the engine sections first, then the weapon systems. His team nodded. They were Earth's best. Navy SEALs, Russian Spetsnaz, British SAS, Chinese snow leopard commandos, all working together for the survival of their species. Now, Richards ordered dots simultaneously. 20 stealth aircraft released their teams. Using advanced grappling systems, the soldiers landed on the hull of the Varaxian ship. They immediately began placing specially designed explosive charges. At key points inside the ship, Tarak heard the first muffled explosion. What was that? He demanded. Before anyone could answer, the ship rocked with multiple explosions. Alarms blared throughout the vessel. We're under attack. Zex shouted, checking the sensors. But how? There's nothing on our scanners. Tarek snarled in anger. Find them. Deploy security teams. But it was too late. The human teams had already breached the hull in multiple locations. Using cold-based weapons designed by Olivia's team, they incapacitated the Varaxian defenders before they could react. Captain Richards led his team straight toward the bridge. The Varaxians they encountered were shocked to find themselves vulnerable to the human weapons. They had expected easy prey, not prepared predators as warning lights flashed across the command bridge. Tarek realized something impossible was happening. His mighty battle cruiser, with technology thousands of years more advanced than anything on Earth, was being taken by creatures he had dismissed as harmless. The bridge doors exploded inward, and Richard stepped through the smoke, leading a team of heavily armed soldiers. Commander Tarek, Richard said, raising his weapon. On behalf of Earth, I'm placing you under arrest. For the first time in his long life, Tarek felt something unfamiliar. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was fear. Commander Tarek sat in a clear-walled cell beneath the Rocky Mountains. 2 weeks had passed since his capture. His claws scraped against the floor as he paced the small space. Guards watched him constantly, their weapons ready. The door opened, and Frank Lawson entered with Olivia Martinez. They carried tablets and recording devices. "Good morning, Commander," Frank said. "We have more questions for you today." Tarek glared at them. "I have told you nothing of value, and I never will." Olivia smiled. "Actually, you've told us quite a lot. Your ship's computer systems have been very helpful too." This was partly true. While human scientists couldn't understand all of the Varaxian technology, they had made remarkable progress. Engineers worked day and night to study the captured battlecruiser. Already they had learned to operate some of its weapons and defense systems. "The Dominion will come for me," Tarek said. "When they discover what happened, they will send a fleet that will darken your skies." "Your victory was temporary," Frank nodded. "We're counting on that, actually. That's why we need to understand more about your people and the other species in the Dominion." This confused Tarek. These humans should be terrified. yet they seemed almost eager for the coming conflict. "Your species makes no sense," Tarek said. "You have no natural weapons. Your bodies are weak. Yet you fight like predators." "We evolved differently than your people," Olivia explained. "On our world, early humans weren't the strongest or fastest. We couldn't fly or breathe underwater. We had no claws or armor, but we had these." She tapped her head. "Our brains allowed us to make tools, to plan, to work together. We became predators through intelligence and cooperation." Tarek considered. This. It went against everything the Dominion taught about the natural order of the galaxy. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, humans had put the captured Varaxian ship to good use. Captain Richards oversaw a team of pilots learning to fly the alien vessel. The ship had been renamed Defiance and now flew Earth's unified flag. "How are the engine tests going?" Richards asked the lead engineer, Bill Foster. "Better than expected," Bill replied. "We figured out about 60% of the control systems. It can fly, and the weapons work, though we're still learning how to aim them properly." Richards nodded. "Good, because according to our guest downstairs, we probably have less than a month before the Dominion notices they're missing." Across the globe, humanity prepared for war. Factories that once made cars now produced weapons designed to fight Varaxians. Scientists in every country shared information freely, working together to develop defenses against alien technology. President Wright addressed the United Nations in New York. Representatives from every nation listened carefully. "We have confirmed from the captured ship's data that Earth is not alone in its struggle," she said. "The Varaxian Dominion controls hundreds of worlds, and many species suffer under their rule. Some have been fighting back in small ways for generations. We have an opportunity not just to defend our world, but to change the galaxy." In his cell, Tarek watched the speech on a small screen. The humans had given him access to their news broadcasts, hoping he would see their determination and perhaps cooperate more. Instead, he was studying them, looking for weaknesses. But the more he watched, the more puzzled he became. These humans were nothing like the other species the Dominion had conquered. They argued constantly among themselves, yet worked together when needed. They had thousands of different cultures and languages, yet united against an outside threat. They showed him both kindness and firm resolve. One day, Frank brought something new to the cell, a small plant in a pot. "What is this?" Tarek asked suspiciously. "It's called a cactus," Frank explained. "It's a plant from our desert regions. I thought you might like something from home. Our scientists say your world has similar hot, dry areas." Tarek was surprised by this gesture. "You give gifts to your prisoner?" Frank shrugged. "We're hoping you'll see us differently over time. We don't want to be your enemies." That evening, as Tarek studied the small plant, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Guards rushed past his cell. Something was happening. Hours later, Frank returned looking tired. "Your people have found us," he said. "A Varaxian scout ship entered our system an hour ago. It stayed at the edge, then jumped away. They know we have your ship." Tarak's mouth curved in what humans had learned was a smile. "Now you understand the power you face. The Dominion will send a fleet to reclaim what is theirs and punish your world." "How long do we have?" Frank asked. "2 of your weeks, perhaps. 3. They must gather ships from across Dominion space." Frank nodded and left. Tarek expected to see fear in the humans now, but instead their activity increased. Through his cell window, he watched more personnel arrive at the facility. Equipment was moved. Training intensified. In the main control room, President Wright met with military leaders from around the world. General Alice Donovan, recently appointed to lead Earth's unified defense forces, presented their plan. We can't match their numbers or technology, she explained. But we have surprise on our side. They expect prey, not predators. On the screen behind her, images showed the Defiance and 3 smaller ships prepared for spaceflight. These smaller vessels were human-built, but incorporated Varaxian technology. Captain Richards will lead a mission into Dominion space, General Donovan continued. Using the captured ship as cover, they will make contact with resistance groups on other worlds. Our goal is to create a coordinated uprising across multiple planets when the Dominion fleet leaves to attack Earth. President Wright studied the plan. It was risky, but staying on Earth and waiting for attack was even riskier. How soon can they leave? Tomorrow, General Donovan replied. The crew is ready. In his cell, Tarek noticed that the guards were distracted. Something major was happening. Then Olivia arrived with 2 soldiers. We're moving you, she said as the cell door opened. Where? Tarek demanded. To a ship, she replied. Captain Richards wants to speak with you before he leaves. Tarek was escorted through the facility to a landing pad where the Defiance waited. Its engines hummed with power. Nearby, 3 smaller ships prepared for launch. Captain Richards stood at the bottom of the ramp, dressed in a new uniform that combined human design with elements of Varaxian military style. Commander Tarek, Richards said, I wanted you too. See this. Your ship now serves Earth. Tarek looked at the vessel, then back at Richards. You plan to fight the Dominion? You have 1 ship against thousands. Richards smiled. Sometimes 1 is enough, especially when you have friends. For the first time, Tarek felt doubt about the outcome of this conflict. These humans were unlike any prey species the Dominion had ever encountered. They were becoming predators. The Defiance moved silently through the darkness of space, far from Earth. Captain Richards stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak by as the ship traveled faster than light. The Varaxian technology made the journey possible, allowing them to reach distant systems in days instead of centuries. Status report, Richards called to his crew of 20 humans who had trained intensively to operate the alien vessel. All systems normal, Captain, replied Lieutenant Carol Ward from the navigation station. We'll reach the Jaxery system in 6 hours. Frank Lawson sat at a communications console nearby. His role was to establish contact with potential allies. Before leaving Earth, they had studied the Varaxian database and identified several species that might help them. The Jaxery were at the top of that list. Do you think they'll trust us? Frank asked Richards quietly. They might not, Richards admitted, but according to Tarek's files, the Jaxery have been causing trouble for the Dominion for generations. They need allies as much as we do. In a secure room at the back of the ship, Olivia Martinez sat across from Commander Tarek. After much debate, Earth's leaders had decided to bring the Varaxian commander on the mission. His knowledge could be valuable, and keeping him on Earth was risky if the Dominion invaded. We're approaching the Jaxery homeworld, Olivia told him. Is there anything we should know that wasn't in your files? Tarek's scales shifted slightly, a sign of discomfort that Olivia had learned to recognize. The Jaxery are cunning. They appear weak, but they have survived Dominion rule through deception. They will not trust you simply because you arrive in a Varaxian ship, and they certainly won't trust you, Olivia pointed out. Tarek made a sound that resembled a laugh. No, they will not. The Jaxery have suffered greatly under my people's rule. Something in his tone caught Olivia's attention. You sound almost regretful. Tarek looked away. I have served the Dominion for over 200 of your years. I believed in our system. Predators rule, prey serve. It is the natural order. He paused. But your people have made me question things I once thought certain. Back on Earth, preparation for the coming invasion continued at a frantic pace. General Alice Donovan supervised the transformation of the Varaxian battle cruisers. Technology into weapons Earth's forces could use. The cold-based weapons worked well against their ground troops, she told President Wright during a briefing. We've developed larger versions that can be mounted on vehicles and aircraft. Their ships are more challenging, but we're making progress. What about civilian evacuation? The president asked. Moving people underground is the safest option, General Donovan replied. We've expanded existing bunker systems and subway tunnels. We can protect about 40% of the population in major cities. Rural areas are establishing their own shelters. President Wright nodded grimly. And our orbital defenses? We have 6 satellites equipped with modified Varaxian weapons. Not enough to stop a fleet, but they might slow them down. In space, the Defiance approached the Jaxery system cautiously. According to Tarak's files, the Dominion maintained a small military presence on the planet to keep the population under control. 2 patrol ships detected, Lieutenant Ward announced. They're hailing us. Richard straightened his uniform. Open a channel, but keep our weapons ready. A Varaxian officer appeared on the main screen. Commander Tarak, we were not expecting your return. What is the status of the Earth mission? Richards had prepared for this moment. Before leaving Earth, they had studied Varaxian military protocols and created false identification codes. Frank transmitted these now. This is a classified mission, Richards replied in the formal Varaxian military style they had practiced. We have new orders from High Command regarding the Jaxery situation. The officer looked suspicious. We received no notification of this. Verify your authorization code. Frank sent another set of codes. These copied directly from Tarak's command systems. After a moment, the officer nodded. Confirmed, Commander. Do you require assistance? Negative, Richards replied. Maintain your patrol route. This operation requires discretion. The patrol ships moved away, continuing their orbit around the planet. That was too easy, Frank whispered. They have no reason to suspect deception, Olivia said. The Dominion has ruled for so long, they've grown overconfident. Richards directed the ship toward the planet's surface, away from the main Varaxian base. According to their intelligence, the Jaxery resistance operated from the dense forest regions of the southern continent. No signs of tracking, Lieutenant Ward confirmed. I think they believed us, Richards nodded. Good. Now for the hard part. Convincing the Jaxery we're not their enemies. The Defiance landed in a clearing surrounded by massive trees with purple leaves. Outside, the air was breathable for humans, but had a higher oxygen content that made everyone feel slightly lightheaded. Stay alert, Richards told his team as the exit ramp lowered. We don't know what kind of welcome we'll receive. Frank, Olivia, and 4 security officers accompanied Richards outside. They carried minimal weapons, trying to appear non-threatening. They didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, figures emerged from the trees. The Jaxery were smaller than humans, with 4 arms like the Varaxians, but slender bodies covered in short blue fur. Their large eyes reflected light like a cat's. One stepped forward, holding a weapon that glowed with energy. You fly a Varaxian ship, yet you are not Varaxians, the Jaxery said in accented English. Explain yourselves before we destroy you. Richards stepped forward slowly. My name is Captain Sam Richards from the planet Earth. We've come seeking allies against the Varaxian Dominion. The Jaxery's eyes narrowed. Many have claimed to fight the Dominion. Many have failed. We haven't, Frank said. We captured this ship when they tried to attack our world. We have Commander Tarak as our prisoner. This caused a stir among the Jaxery. They whispered to each other in their own language. If you speak truth, this would be unprecedented, the lead Jaxery said. No world has ever captured a Varaxian battle. Cruiser, we can prove it, Olivia offered. We brought Tarek with us. The Jaxari leader considered this. I am Speaker Nima of the Jaxari Resistance. Bring this commander out, and we will listen to your story. When Tarek was brought outside under guard, the reaction from the Jaxari was immediate. Some raised weapons, others backed away in fear. This is indeed Commander Tarek, Speaker Nima said, moving closer to examine the Varaxian. His cruelty to our people is legendary. Tarek lowered his head slightly. The Jaxari have been worthy opponents. Nima turned to Richards. You have my attention, humans. Come with us, and tell us how you accomplished what no other species has managed in 50,000 years. As they followed the Jaxari into the forest, Richards felt a glimmer of hope. Earth still faced tremendous odds against the Dominion fleet, but they were no longer alone. Across the galaxy, the first cracks were appearing in the Varaxian Dominion's power. The Varaxian fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel near Earth's solar system. 50 massive warships, each carrying thousands of soldiers, approached the blue planet. High Commander Zex stood on the bridge of the lead ship, his four arms crossed over his armored chest. No species has ever dared to capture one of our ships or take a commander prisoner, he growled to his officers. This world will serve as an example to all who defy the Dominion. A junior officer approached nervously. High Commander, we're detecting unusual energy readings from Earth. They appear to have orbital weapons based on our technology. Zex narrowed his yellow eyes. Impossible. These primitives could not understand our systems so quickly. The readings are confirmed, High Commander. And our scouts report the humans have prepared extensive ground defenses. Zex snarled in anger. It changes nothing. Begin the attack. Destroy their orbital weapons first, then target their largest cities. The Varaxian fleet moved forward, weapons charging. On Earth, every defense system activated. The 6 satellites, equipped with modified Varaxian weapons, fired first, destroying 2 enemy ships before being eliminated. In the underground command center beneath Geneva, President Wright and General Donovan watched the battle unfold on large screens. They've taken out our satellites, General Donovan reported. Ground-based defenses are active. Around the world, hidden weapons installations targeted the Varaxian ships. The cold-based technology that had proven effective against Varaxian biology was now scaled up to damage their vessels. Several more enemy ships took heavy damage, but the fleet kept coming. The first ships are entering the atmosphere, an officer announced. They're targeting major cities as expected. President Wright nodded grimly. Initiate Phase 2. As Varaxian ships descended toward Washington, D.C., New York, London, Beijing, and other major cities, they found the urban centers apparently deserted. Millions of people had been evacuated to underground shelters in the preceding weeks. High Commander Zex watched from orbit as the first wave of ground troops deployed. The humans are hiding like the prey they are, he said with satisfaction. Find them and begin processing. But as Varaxian soldiers moved through the empty streets, they encountered no resistance at first. Then, suddenly, attacks came from all directions. Human soldiers, using guerrilla tactics, struck quickly and disappeared. Traps and ambushes decimated the Varaxian forces. What is happening? Zex demanded as reports of heavy losses flooded in. These are primitive creatures. How are they defeating our troops? On the other side of the galaxy, the Defiance raced back toward Earth, leading a fleet of ships from 17 different species. In the 2 weeks since meeting the Jaxari, Captain Richards and his team had traveled to other worlds, building a coalition of species oppressed by the Dominion. Fleet status? Richards asked, standing on the bridge of the Defiance. All ships report ready, Captain, Lieutenant Ward replied. The Jaxery and Kelbian vessels are taking the lead positions. As planned, Frank Lawson looked up from his console. We're receiving Earth's distress signal. The Varaxian attack has begun. Richards nodded grimly. Maximum speed. We need to hit them from behind while they're focused on Earth. In a quiet corner of the bridge, Olivia sat with Commander Tarak. Over the past weeks, the Varaxian had changed. Seeing so many species unite against the Dominion had affected him deeply. Your people are losing, aren't they? Olivia asked quietly, showing him the battle reports from Earth. Tarak nodded slowly. Humans fight differently than any species we've encountered. You have no natural weapons, so you created better ones. You have no natural armor, so you developed strategies that make armor unnecessary. Will you help us? Olivia asked. Your knowledge of Varaxian tactics could save lives on both sides. Tarak was silent for a long moment. The Dominion has ruled through fear for 50,000 years. Perhaps it is time for change? He stood and approached Richards. Captain, I wish to offer my assistance. I know High Commander Zex's strategies. I can help you defeat him with minimal casualties. Richards studied the Varaxian's face. Why would you betray your own people? I am not betraying my people, Tarak replied. I am helping them find a better path. The Dominion's way has led only to endless conflict. What your species offers, cooperation between predator and prey, has never been tried. On Earth, the battle raged. Despite heavy Varaxian losses, their superior numbers and technology were slowly overwhelming human defenses. High Commander. Zex ordered more troops to the surface, determined to crush all resistance. We've detected a new energy signature, High Commander, an officer reported suddenly. Multiple ships approaching from Sector 7. Reinforcements? Zex asked. The officer's scales paled. No, High Commander. They appear to be ... It's impossible. Ships from multiple Dominion worlds. They're flying together, and they're targeting our fleet. The Coalition fleet led by the Defiance burst into the solar system, weapons firing immediately. The Varaxian fleet, caught between the new arrivals and Earth's defenses, fell into chaos. This is Captain Sam Richards of Earth to all Varaxian vessels, Richards transmitted, with Tarak standing beside him. Your attack on our world has failed. We offer you one chance to surrender. On his command ship, High Commander Zex roared. In fury. Never. The Dominion does not surrender to prey. Then you leave us no choice, Richards replied. The Coalition fleet, using battle plans developed by Tarak, targeted the Varaxian command ships with precision strikes. On Earth, General Donovan launched the final phase of the defense plan, a massive coordinated attack on all Varaxian ground forces. High Commander Zex watched in disbelief as his fleet was torn apart by ships from worlds that had been under Dominion control for millennia. How is this possible? He demanded of no one in particular. How could prey species unite like this? His ship rocked with explosions as the Defiance targeted it specifically. Systems failed throughout the vessel, and fires broke out on multiple decks. High Commander, we must abandon ship. An officer shouted, but it was too late. The command ship broke apart, taking High Commander Zex and his senior officers with it. Within hours, the remaining Varaxian forces surrendered. The battle for Earth was over. 1 week later, representatives from 23 species gathered in the rebuilt United Nations building in New York. President Wright stood at the podium, with General Donovan, Captain Richards, Frank, Olivia, and Commander Tarak beside her. Today marks the beginning of a new era, President Wright announced. The Galactic Coalition of Free Worlds replaces the Dominion. No longer will species be classified as predator or prey. Each world will have an equal voice in our shared future. Commander Tarak stepped forward. As the first Varaxian to join this coalition, I pledged to help my people understand this new way. For too long, we believed strength came from domination. The humans have taught us that true strength comes from cooperation. As the delegates applauded, Frank leaned toward Olivia. Not bad for a species that was classified as prey. Olivia smiled. The Varaxians made one fundamental mistake. They thought being predators made them strong. They never realized that humans became the most dangerous species on our planet, not because we had the sharpest teeth or the strongest claws, but because we learned to work together. Outside the building, citizens of Earth looked up at a sky, now filled with ships from friendly worlds. The galaxy had changed forever. The age of predators was over. Humanity had shown the stars a better way.